Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another building episode. Today we're going to be doing a Corvette. At first I wasn't super sure what kind of weapon and everything we were going to go for, and I just end up just kind of having fun with the build. I thought about it, and style-wise I do like having big protected railings kind of around the whole ship, so I decided to kind of integrate them a bit more into the building of the ship itself and its actual structure. So I decided to go with this design you see for a deck. It's got a basically entire ring around the outside of it. And then I decide, since the front is where the gun is going to be, that we are going to enforce it a little bit, or reinforce it a little bit. So we go ahead and do that. And that is indeed reinforced decking, by the way. It takes me a little bit just to get these figured out because I haven't actually built like this before, and it was an interesting little thing just figuring out all the curves. It's pretty cool. And then we get to the point where I'm like, how do I do this? How do I make it look nice? It takes me a minute to figure out, but I was on the right track at least, so we just go ahead and finish up that part of the hull and seal up the back. So this is a Corvette, so essentially I'm designing it to be a lightly armored vehicle that is fairly fast, has at least some weaponry, but not a ton. And it's more of it's like a scout craft essentially. It should be able to get to places, figure things out, and just get out, hopefully without dying. But if it does die, I want to keep the cost down. So we end up around, I believe, 15k for the cost of this thing. And so we have essentially finished the outer hull now. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on the inside. Now, I did have a bunch of wonderful commenters give me a whole bunch of awesome engine designs, and I know I should use them, I'm sorry, but I like designing my engines. I know I'm not good at it, but it's just enjoyable for me. And so I'm gonna build this little monstrosity because I don't care about fuel efficiency on this thing. All I want is for it to just have whatever power we end up needing in order to get the job done. So I'm like, to hell with the efficiency, put a bunch of injectors on there, off we go. And then I'm trying to figure out how many radiators I need, where I can place radiators. And for some reason couldn't put radiators here on the side, which kind of weirded me out. I was like, okay, let's just pull them all off. Try a big one? I was like, yes, big one works. Okay. And then I go ahead, install a rudder for us. Then I realize we're going to need propulsion. And as I said before, I do want this to be quite a fast craft. So we're going to go ahead and go with a pair of large propellers. And I'm just checking what the power requirements are for those versus what we have. And just kind of going on that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to downscale them at first. I do decide not to, though. And throw some fuel tanks in. So we do go through a couple revisions of, especially like that back engine area, just because it is pretty dense. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the AI now and get that in, get some sensory stuff in. We probably went overboard on that. We could save a bit on materials, but hey, we need something. And then I'm deciding what kind of weapon to actually give this thing. So at first I was thinking missiles, and I was like, we could do particles. And I was like, no, I don't want to put batteries in this because we already have a nice big fuel engine. So I was like, you know what? We can do lasers. just for some context, this is recorded directly after the laser blimp episode. So I basically did that one, woke up the next day, and was like, lasers. But yeah, so we go ahead. I'm trying to do, well, actually I did that pretty fast. I decided what I wanted and I executed on it. Rotate that and put these in. There we go. And then I'm trying to figure out, because I don't have a Q switch in, it actually uses a minuscule amount of energy per shot, which I'm very confused by, because I literally had just built the laser blimp and like one of these had been too much. So I was like, oh, okay. So we just go ahead, we increase the armor penetration up to 48, I do believe it is on this thing. And then I seal the top of the hull back up because it's a laser, we don't actually need that. So line these up, get our laser thingy, and install the combiner. And I meant to get steering at first, so we go back to that. And voila, we now have a fully functioning laser system. It's probably not very good, but yeah. And I decided to protect it against EMP, just in case. And I wasn't sure about how it would have, like, if it would have issues with rotation, so I ended up just doing kind of a wrap and leave the corners nice and open to make sure it can rotate nicely. And then I'm like, okay, we need some style on this thing. Give it horns. And then, of course, we need to actually have some kind of detection on this craft, so I end up going right ahead with a coincidence rangefinder on top of the turret. And I do believe a camera. So we're highly relying on visual confirmation of our targets, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it could be a bit better. And then I just squeeze that down into the bottom so that I can put a radar tracker on the top. So that gives us good range finding, good target detection, good tracking, and we're a bit lopsided to the front just for, just weight reasons. Which makes a lot of sense. We don't have a ton of armor in the back versus the front is fairly armored, which, now that I look at it, I should probably make some changes. This is designed as a broadsider, so having a lack of armor on the side is probably a bad idea. So I go ahead, decide, okay, let's redo the engine, Mach 3. Get confused why there's a radar gimbal down here. And we do injectors, and I catch that that's only attached to one, so I rotate them properly. There we go. And then I'm very confused why my stable power is so low. That is, of course, caused by the fact that our exhaust is no longer correctly routed. So we're going to have to fix that after I stare at it for a while. Just mass confusion. I'm like, wait a minute. Nope, I haven't had the realization yet. We're still just puzzled by this anomaly. There we go. And gotta take all these off just in case. And route everything through properly. There we go. So we now have our exhaust. We're getting some power, although we're still having heat related issues. Yep, no, that's going to make the heat issues worse, not better. Come on. There we go. And those actually don't attach at all. So we now have 2,600 power available, which is plenty for our lasers and plenty for our forward thrust. So we're going to go ahead, make some fixes just to get our pitch and roll up and running, because we check where the center of mass is. Now, I probably could have used hydrofoils for the pitch, but it just, I don't know, it didn't occur to me. And then I'm thinking of using normal PIDs, and then I'm like, oh, wait, I can use AI PIDs, because this is a fully AI craft, so it's always going to have the AI on. So we go ahead, we select broadside, set it to be a ship. Become confused why the PID is not configurable. I'm like, why are you not using it? And there's a simple reason. A, we have no fuel, so we can't generate any engine power. And then I decide to armor up the engine a little bit more, so that we're less likely to entirely lose the entire thing. And I did, of course, use stone. That way it's a little bit better against EMP. I'm wondering what is going on here. Why are you not using your PID? And for reference, the reason is if you go to maneuver, you have to actually allow ships to use pitch controls, which I had turned off completely, which means we were ignoring it. And yeah, nope, that wasn't the pitch controls kicking in. That was the ship launching itself out of the water. What kind of speed did we get up to? I think it's like 20 something. I'm like, okay, lead, throw lead on it. And we put too much lead. That is too much lead, of course. This was such a weird thing to build. Like, it's just a nice little Corvette. It's supposed to be pretty easy. Yeah, we turn off reverse. Check this. It's still not working. I'm very confused. Just play around with it. If I make it better, is it more? Yeah, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Ideal. Use pitch controls. There we go. So pitch fixed. Always make sure that you have that box fixed if you're using AI PIDs and want it to handle pitch. Otherwise, your ship will ignore it because it's not actually using the tools that you have given it. Alright, and then I decide that we are kind of sitting a little too low, so we're going to go ahead and do some ACB magic with secondary drives and just altitude detection, because we want to keep ourselves at least a little bit above the water. So desired speed, secondary, 100%. There we go. And then we clone it, set it down, invert it. So now basically it'll make us bob up and down in the water. Makes us a little bit harder to target and keeps us above the water still. Now I probably should have done a negative number instead of 0, just to increase the bobbing, but I didn't think of that until right now. And then I'm like, okay, if we're going to broadside, we need a reason to be broadsiding. Yeah, so we're at 10K. Adjusting the... I don't know, I might just... Post commentary is hard, guys. You have to remember what you were thinking before. It's been like an hour since I recorded. I had to do all the video editing first on everything. I'm like, why is the AI not controlling this? I'm like, okay, we'll do it this way. Then it's still not controlling the turret, though. And I realize I'm gonna have to clear some room down here. So we go ahead, get our weapon controller in, get the transmitter in, and then we go back, open this back up, change back the things we changed, and seal it up nicely. There we go. And we have hit the station. So I'm like, okay, we don't want... I learned from the blimp, especially if we have the option to let the AI do it, it's much better to let your laser fully charge itself up rather than continuously drain it all the way down. Because if it's completely drained, then you're just going to do less damage for each point of power you're spending. And we go ahead. I'm thinking of doing some decorations. I actually forgot I did this. There we go. Now he's got eyes. And we destroy the station because we keep hitting it. I don't want the new build getting damaged by it. I'm debating what else I can do on this ship because just having a laser system running around seems a little ineffective. I mean, we're already having this thing travel around. We should probably be doing more with the ship itself. So I go ahead, take some of the decking off, and I actually install a elevation only turret here. Yep, and accidentally hit the wrong button. Put the elevation turret back, and I'm debating exactly how to do this because I wasn't sure what would be effective. Because I want to put these simple guns on here so that it essentially bounces up and we'll aim them at the enemy as we broadside. And we go ahead, get it installed. Then I need to actually check if this thing can rotate, and it can indeed, which actually surprised me a little bit. I didn't think it would be able to, perfectly do that. So we go ahead, mount it into the deck, do another test, can indeed still rotate. So we switch back to the main ship itself, grab another one, throw it in, and voila, we have the same system on the other side. It won't get in the laser's way no matter what, which is nice, but it'll allow us to broadside the enemy. And then I kind of try to do some fire constraints just to try and get it to, not shoot the side of the ship. Because I kind of want it to aim up and then shoot. But yeah. These, I don't know what it was with elevation turrets, but I could just not get it to work properly. So I just disable them. We're not going to use it. If it shoots the ship, it's a teeny tiny cannon. And anyway, we gotta do the local weapon controllers and a failsafe. And I'm trying to get this thing just to, be a little nicer in the water. So, throw a chair on. Yeah, that is not ideal. Not ideal movement at all. I'm like, okay, we gotta mount these higher up, clearly. So I go ahead, do some tests, see which one I enjoy more. Ends up being these, which is actually super smooth while it's going around. And I seal back up that part of the railing and give it a little bit of decoration just to make it look better and maybe be slightly safer from the back. Probably not much safer, but slightly. And then we need to make sure that this looks nice. So we go ahead, seal that up. Now I see now, miss a piece right there. Behind those ramps I just installed, there should be something. I'm gonna go ahead and fix that afterwards. But yeah, so this is our new Corvette, the Mach 1. I'm probably going to be doing other weapon systems, but for now we're going to do a weapon system test. And so we just spawn in a... can't remember what that is. No idea, it's a something, and we're just going to shoot at it for a while. So I end up deciding that we are missing something at some point. But yeah, so simple guns working, laser functional. The only issue is the little guns are kind of interrupted by everything that's going on. So we're going to go ahead and pull off that part of the side decking at least, because there's no reason to have that extra little bit there just to get shot. Like 90% of the time we're the ones that are going to be destroying that, and A, it means less shells are hitting the enemy, and B, we're damaging ourselves and we're going to have to pay for those repairs. And yeah, we now have shells actually hitting the enemy, which is perfect. And I noticed that we're actually short on fuel as well. We didn't give this thing enough resources to function properly. So we can go ahead, grab the fuel cans, and throw down a couple extras. Which brings this thing's total material storage to 5,000 and upgrades it to the Mach 1.0.1. We'll just increase the number slightly, just because it is better than the original. The original couldn't fire constantly and had just issues. So we'll just go ahead, continue our firing for a little bit more, just to see if we're overwhelming our engine, but it doesn't seem like we are. And so we're on to our second test. So this one I actually ended up spawning it's Jacob's Folly? I'm not entirely sure. It's the one with the little rammy ball, and I decide to do another test. So this one, we're not in God mode, so if it hits us, we do take damage. And I just want to see how it fares against an enemy that is generally fairly fast and in its tier. So if it catches us, we're probably dead. That thing has ripped apart many adventure craft ships. But it looks like we actually managed to outmaneuver this thing. And the few shots it's landing on us are just seeming to be fairly ineffective. Versus we are currently taking out some of its propulsion, it would appear. And yeah, we're just driving circles around him. Which is awesome to watch. But anyway, I do believe we have a couple more changes to make, just because we are getting our... basically 50% is a little low. We could do more damage. So we're going to go ahead, change that 50 to an 80. And instead of doing like, I think it was 400 or 500 per hit, we're now doing 1.6 thousand. Yep, those are some big chunky hits. So that's a metal beam melted off every single time. And while it does lower our fire rate a little bit, I do believe, it more than makes up for it in just chunking things. Because if we hit something and it's not destroyed, what's the likeliness we're going to hit the same thing again? It's not a super accurate laser, and the AI isn't the greatest at choosing targets to begin with. So I'd rather have that one shot, one block mentality with this thing. But yeah, we've done pretty decent damage to this thing. We've opened up most of that side. You can see the engine, or the steam engine of the thing exposed. Simple guns still are simple. They don't do much. They're more for show, and occasionally they might contribute just with the rapid fire, and they do provide a little bit of anti-air support. Yeah, so let's watch them go around in a big circle for a little bit, and we'll see that we do indeed just completely outmaneuver this thing, which was the big point of having such a big engine on this craft. Yep, no, he can't even lock onto us properly. And so I'm going to declare this a victory, especially with that, and we'll move on to the next test. So I ended up spawning in 3 of our little crafts, so a total of 30,000 resource, and I spawned in a Marauder as a test. So we do have 3 more rounds after this, so I'm just going to let you guys enjoy watching these. Have fun, let me know in the comments, like and subscribe if you want more of this kind of content, and enjoy yourselves. Bye!
listening.